To perform a gram stain of an isolated bacterial sample, first you want to take some distilled water and just put a small drop of that onto your microscope slide. And colony selection on the Petri dish should be done based on which bacteria looks like it's predominant. Which one do you see the most of? That is most likely the bacteria that's causing the issue, the problem, or the infection. And you also need to make sure that the colony that you retrieve your sample from is isolated from the other one so that you don't accidentally pick up two kinds of bacteria. So on this sample, you can see that these creamy white colonies are by far the majority bacteria. And so that's the bacteria that I'm going to want to sample and do a gram stain on. The best place to pick up a sample of that is over here. This colony right here, it looks a little different because somebody actually already has taken a sample of it, but that is the same creamy white color of these other colonies that we see, and it's completely isolated, not touching or overlapping any other colonies. So that's the one that we would sample. Now also for your gram stain lab, you're going to be asked on your lab report about the zone of hemolysis around the bacteria colony that you sampled. So if you look back over the lecture notes, if you need a refresher, but you want to take a note of what type of hemolysis was displayed around the bacteria that you chose. So this bacteria in particular has no zone around it, neither does this creamy yellow have a zone around it either, so both of these bacteria are demonstrating gamma hemolysis, whereas this bacteria colony here has a clear zone around it, which would be beta hemolysis. So just make a note of that on your lab report. Whichever colony you sample, you need to make note of what type of hemolysis was displayed on your Petri dish. So take a wooden tipped applicator and you're going to very lightly touch it to the bacterial colony that you want to sample. Since this one's already been sampled, I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate on this creamy yellow colony here. You don't want to push too hard because you don't want to pick up any of the agar, because the agar will interfere with the gram stain. And now I have it on the end of my wooden tipped applicator. So I'm going to mix it around with this drop of distilled water. The purpose of this is to make it more of a homogeneous mixture so it can be spread thin. If I didn't use the drop of distilled water and if I just tried to apply it to the slide, I would end up with thick, heavy streaks, which would be difficult to stain and look at under the microscope. So you can see I've made a nice, thin, homogeneous mixture of bacteria and distilled water, and I've spread it pretty evenly across the slide. Now that that's been done, you can let this air dry, and then the next step is going to be to stain it, or to fix it rather. So use a lighter to heat fix the bacteria to the slide. You just need to apply enough heat until you see that the sample is dry. And if you wish to, you can take a piece of gauze and you can wipe the soot off of the back of the microscope slide. Now we're ready to gram stain. So place your microscope slide sample side up on the tray. And the gram stain procedure consists of 4 things in a very particular order. So first we have the crystal violet stain. Next we have the gram stain iodine, which is the mordant that seals in the crystal violet. Then we have the acetone decolorizer, and then the counter stain, which is safranin. So step 1 is crystal violet stain. You want to just drip this on and cover all parts of the slide that have your sample on it. And watch the clock, because we're going to let this sit for 60 seconds. After 60 seconds, take some distilled water and rinse it away. Next, we apply the iodine, and we do the exact same thing with the iodine. Cover the whole slide where the sample is. Leave that on for 60 seconds. And after 60 seconds, we will rinse it off. The third step is the acetone decolorizer, and this one is done differently. Rather than flood the slide with it and let it sit, we're actually going to drip it on. So I hold the slide up at an angle and put one drop at a time and let it just run down the slide. And I'm going to continue to do this until everything that's running off is clear. So right now it still has quite a bit of color to it. So I'm going to keep dripping. And now we can see the runoff coming off of the slide is now clear, so it's done decolorizing. And then we want to be sure to rinse the decolorizer off when we're done with some distilled water. Okay, and now we're going to come in with the counter stain, which is Safranin. Where this one, again, we're going to cover the whole slide. And this is only going to sit for 45 seconds. After 45 seconds has elapsed, you can do your final rinse with more distilled water. And you can let this air dry, or you can place it in a booklet of blotting paper just to pat it dry. And then once it's completely dry, it's ready for viewing on the microscope.